Hello, everyone, and welcome to our second episode. JICS presents Beyond Borders Australian Success. And today, as always, we are talking about the contribution, the great success stories of migrants who come to Australia and make Australia their home. And today, we have none other than Arjun. How are you today?
I'm great. Thank you for having me.
Yes, we have Arjun Paliwal, and he is the founder of InvestorKit, and today is 7 years.
Yeah, 7 years since I first kicked off InvestorKit in 2018. So
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. No, it's really special.
And the journey, what do you think?
Well, I think of like three things that come to mind. Number one is I pinch myself to the impact like we've been able to make for many of the clients. Like we've had thousands of Australians help to build their portfolio, grow their wealth, and be on track to achieve their financial goals. Then the second thing is the actual team. Now we've got about 80 people across our group of companies. And what that means is that's new jobs created that weren't there before. That's careers grown, people and their families and the impacts that they can make off the back of a successful career. And because we're in that wealth generation space, to see that play out for our own team members has been really special because they're learning the formulas, they're in our company, they're applying it to themselves. So that's massive as well, the second bit of impact. And third and final thing is the things I can do for people, as in my own family, my greater extended family, charity, other friends who run businesses and supporting them. So just feel it's been the best thing that could ever happen to me over these 7 years. And it's created a lot of impact that I can create from those three areas.
And correct me if I'm wrong, we are connected, right? JICS and InvestorKit?
Absolutely.
How are we connected?
A few different ways. So firstly, the JICS teams helped me personally on my journey to being a citizen here. So we're going through that as we speak.
Wow.
My dad as well. So like all my family, almost a dozen people you've helped in my family to get towards being Aussie citizens. Some have achieved it, some on their pathway. That's one way. The second thing is friends and friends of friends that I know. We've introduced them to JICS and you guys have been kind enough to help them with that. But the other part has been that Aman, the founder of JICS, has been working closely with me to grow his own wealth. And so I think this is something many business owners underestimate. They build businesses, but they don't store the wealth from their business. And property investing done right is really powerful because then if you can take a little bit of your business success every single year, put it away into hard assets that compound over time, your life can truly change. Because when you start building wealth, for example, a $5 million portfolio at 5% compounding growth is $250K of growth in that asset base. So 5% is conservative, but to have $250K grow each year while you're sitting or sipping on the coffee, sleeping at night, or whatever it is, you're just in a position where the money's working for you rather than you working for it. And so I feel like that's the journey we've been on with Aman, where we've been able to help him build wealth too, whilst he builds JICS. So it's been pretty special to have that two-way relationship.
And I think we both are in the 7th year, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's pretty funny how that's also lined up pretty well there.
Right. And then again, another thing that's common is we both work for people who considers Australia as home. One is securing the visa, making it permanent, sealing it to be permanent. And then there's you who's making sure we have roof above our head and not just like a dream home, but also in an investment angle, right?
Absolutely.
Tell us something about that. Like when people come to you say, hey, I want to start investing, but I'm not even a citizen. How do you start from there?
Absolutely. So first thing is there are PR and citizenships that you would usually have to be able to invest in Australian property. But when they're on their journey, we want them to know that, look, okay, it might not be possible right now, but it's a pathway. And so whether it's working with your team at JICS to be able to take them through that pathway, or whether that's just basically them doing the time that comes with it.
And the mental preparation?
Absolutely. And then just using what we have from our research, our videos, our podcasts as a bit of a knowledge base for people to learn over time, because we might not be the customer today, but as time goes on, your learning is enhanced, you get to see what we do, you're going to PR and citizenship, that time will come down the track when we do work together.
Right. I mean, that's what I thought. Like, I came here as a student different from yours. But the first day that I came, I know that students, what they do is like they first graduate and then they think about, oh, now I have to be a permanent resident. I started thinking about investment, about residency on the first day that I landed in Australia.
Absolutely.
Right?
To see the
Is that a
thoughts
wide
there.
decision?
Yeah, I mean, the thought's there, and that's where it starts. And I think that's really healthy. People coming over, thinking about their future, because then also what it means is that you're not, when that time comes to have that visa, you're not just rushing into it straight away. You've been educating yourself over multiple years or months. So I think that's really important as well, where people coming in shouldn't just be, thinking about doing it immediately, but using that time where they're working towards PR, citizenship, and then eventually they get onto the journey of being ready. But during that whole time, they were educating themselves.
Yeah. So when it comes to education, and our audience is mostly people who are aspiring to be Australians, what suggestion do you have? Like, what is the timeline? What should be your tips and tricks for them?
Absolutely. So firstly, success leaves clues. So where there's a lot of case studies and a lot of insights that we share, we have our podcast, The Property Nerds, and also the InvestorKit podcast. So yeah, we nerd out together on that. Now, when we have those podcasts, we share real client stories. And so if you see how other Australians have really built wealth, the decisions they've made, how they've been with their thinking. So being borderless as a property investor, building a team around you rather than really just feeling like you have to know everything yourselves. And I think that's one thing as well that when migrants come in, they put the pressure on themselves to feel like they have to know and do everything on their own. And so I feel like, example, working with your team, like, hey, I've been in Australia for many years, yet I didn't put that on myself to feel like I know everything about getting my visa towards citizenship or working in a way to progress that. I didn't know the fastest avenues, the way to do it, the submissions and all these things. And so also time poor. So I worked with your team. Now the same can happen on the reverse side when it comes to building wealth. You don't have to go deep into learning everything. You can take your time through podcasts and courses and material, but that's just to, get some ground knowledge up. But when it comes to actually fulfilling, some of the best results happen to those who build a team around them. And that's where we insert ourselves as a team for migrants as they grow and they want to build a portfolio here in Australia.
Do you mind sharing some success stories of migrants?
Absolutely. So I'll give you an example of one of our clients, Rajiv and Sauji. So Rajiv and Sauji have moved from overseas many years ago. They came through and then they worked through the corporate ladder here in Sydney. And then Sauji eventually started her own physiotherapist business in terms of mobile aged care physio. And as both of them grew their business and grew their time here in Australia, they settled down and bought their own home, right? So they did their own home, but they'd also bought an investment. Now they did these first two parts by themselves. However, they wanted to look at better ways to do things, not just buy near you or buy where it's familiar. Australia's a big country, so you want to get all the data and the tools right to make the best possible decision. So we'd worked with them and we'd purchased multiple properties across Adelaide, Brisbane, regional Victoria, regional Queensland. And by diversifying their portfolio, they've now got over $10 million in assets, which is massive. And to start from that migrant position, come in here, start their career, grow their family, grow their businesses and career, and then to get on the housing ladder to then live in and now build a portfolio, I feel many people put that pressure on themselves and are a bit scared to spread their wings. But because they felt comfortable with the team around them, they felt that they wanted to get the professionals on their side. Just as they expect others to be using them as professionals for their services, they felt the same for building wealth. And from that perspective, we've been able to create a special outcome and build a really solid portfolio together. So that's been really special to see. Another story is with Amin, our good friend, right? So Amin and I worked closely over the last 5+ years, and he's built a portfolio of over $10 million in assets. And that doesn't happen from, just thinking about it or being comfortable about it. It means you have to have a team that pushes you. You stay accountable. You have the metrics that you work towards. You have performance and results. And you get diversity on where you're trying to build a portfolio. So all these principles, I feel like as long as people don't put the pressure on themselves to know and learn everything, we've done over 2,000 property purchases for clients. So when you've got that experience behind you, and my wife and I...
7 years.
Yeah, 7 years, right? So when you've done that, that helps you really get the best result for your clients.
Right. Well, sometimes people have the right mindset, but there are some fears that work. I'm just going to share the common fears. One is that people may think that, in order to start investing, a single income may be not good enough, or we're not earning a certain level of salary. Maybe that may cause some fear. What do you suggest regarding that? Like,
A couple of things.
where do you build the confidence?
Yeah. A couple of things. So firstly, it's a marathon, not a sprint, right? People come in and they expect to jump into it straight away because they got the job, they got that income, but it takes time. But it doesn't take as long as you think, right? So the marathon part's more the mindset. The income you first started on postgraduate, or the income that you first started on when you got your first job moving into Australia, isn't likely to be the income you're on forever. Things change over time. Myself, I moved over from New Zealand to Australia when I was 18. And my first job was, I think, 38,000 per annum, right? And things change as the years go on. So if I ever looked at every single year and made that my year that I base my life's plans on, I would be wildly disappointed, because every single year my income grew, my assets grew, my savings grew, my financial literacy grew. So I feel the first thing is, don't make your position today with the thought that that's your position forever. Now, in doing that, you'll just trust the habits of saving between 25 to 40% of your income after tax, putting that away, saving that for a consistent time period, looking at markets and not trying to save the biggest deposit, just saving exactly what you need to get in. Then lastly, not going into your backyard, because Sydney, as an example where I live, is an expensive city. But did you know that there's cities across the country where you can buy houses for between 450 and 650,000 per annum? Not per annum, sorry, 450,000 to 650,000, right? So those prices are much more affordable than the $1 million or $2 million prices here in Sydney. But it's just because of the lack of knowledge, the lack of the team around someone, or the lack of belief, because everything you see around you is so expensive that you think it's not possible, and you just put it in the too hard basket, or you put in the it'll never happen to me basket. But if you went in that way and thought like that, you're setting yourself up for failure. And so this is why it's so important to build a team around you, get educated through podcasts, through YouTube, through understanding success stories from others, and then jumping on the journey when you can, not feeling like you can never jump on the journey just because of your position today.
Right. And are there people who come to you who's like made mistakes earlier and then came to you and wanted to rectify themselves? What happens then?
Unfortunately, that's the biggest part we see. So right now, like that's probably the one that annoys me most. It's like, okay, I get it. It's great to be in a position to play fixer-upper, call it, of a portfolio. Someone's made a mistake, you have to fix it up and then get them on track. But I'd rather leave that stuff for Gordon Ramsay's TV shows where he fix ups hotels and restaurants and then things like that. With us, we're on a big mission to educate prevention, like getting it right from the get-go. No doubt that's a big part, but we want to really help through our content and education for people to go, I don't want to go and make a $500,000 or $1 million mistake and then come and use you guys. I want to get it right, the framework, the thinking, the mindset from the get-go. So what we've commonly seen is people are usually buying a unit in an expensive city, and they think that that's a great outcome because they got into a good area and it's so cheap to be in that good area. But what they don't understand is that the stock levels are very different in units versus houses. So what might be a suburb, let's just say Parramatta, and maybe there's a unit you can get for 600,000 to 800,000 or 900,000 in the surrounding areas. But then you see there's house prices of a couple $1 million and the city's booming, lots of stuff in building and construction, Parramatta's happening. And you think, surely this is going to go up, this is going to be great. But sadly, if you looked at the last 7 or 8 years of data, so many people in Parramatta have not made any capital gains on their units, even with all this construction activity and growth happening. And that's simply because they bought the wrong type of asset. They bought a unit instead of a house. What they could have done is taken that same budget and looked across the country to buy a house in a growth market where the data does make sense. So I think this is a big mistake that we're constantly fixing up. Someone bought a home, they feel great, they're in Sydney or Melbourne, and all of a sudden they've said, you know what, it's time for me to get an investment. I want to get a unit close by. And then they're waiting and waiting and waiting, and the growth hasn't kicked in. And then now all of a sudden they're like, yeah, I need help. And they reach out to us. So we wish they'd reached out to us prior. Right? So yeah.
Right. And talk about your own personal journey.
Well, look, I'm an Indian kid from New Zealand. So I was...
How was that?
Yeah. No, it's cool. Look, I was born and brought up in Wellington, New Zealand, and my family over there decided that they wanted to make a shift. So my dad moved over to Australia first, I think 2009 or 10, somewhere around there. I came to Sydney in 2010, so it's been about 15 years of me in Sydney this November. And basically that journey was coming over as a student, but I didn't actually pick up my year of uni. So what was really interesting is I got acceptance into uni, came over, was planning to live with my dad and younger brother who'd made the move, and they convinced me, come on over, it'll be a great idea. And I came through, but then I looked for jobs and I wasn't having any luck in the most basic of jobs out.
JICS wasn't there.
No, JICS wasn't there. I was applying for everything. I was applying for sweeping floor at the barber store. I was sweeping hair off the floor in the barber store. I was applying for retail store assistants, anything possible just to get my foot into the door. And funnily enough, in Parramatta. So Westfield Parramatta. And then all of a sudden, I had no luck, and I just kept chilling out at home and going out here and there. Obviously, hey, Dad, can you shout me this, or can you spot me this money at that time? But then he said, go apply for the bank. And I'm like, come on, dude, no way I'm going to make it in the bank if you haven't had any success in all these other areas. Mm-hmm. Fortunately, I got the call up and it worked. I got a job as an 18-year-old teller. So I started from those entry roles, the bank teller. Mm-hmm. And that kicked off curiosity for me. It's like, whoa, people are coming in depositing all this money, or people are asking for these bank accounts, and then they had all this inheritance come through, or they've been saving for years, or they moved over from overseas, or someone in the good old don't judge a book by its cover, their flip-flops or sandals, whatever you want to call them, shorts and a raggedy shirt, and they've got $1 million in their account or a couple of $1 million in their account. So all this curiosity as an 18-year-old kid kicks in. And I'd say recommend it to anyone. If you want the best place to work in as a young, kid or teenager or early 20s, the bank is the best place to learn everything there is about money, accounts, savings, insurances, finance, loans, how debt works.
Got you excited.
It did. It got me excited. So off the back of that, I really took that curiosity and turned it into passion, turned it into desire to learn and grow, and then turned it into like decision making for myself to be able to invest, not just watch and see people, but do what they're doing, because I see it all. I see what works and what doesn't. And that turned the journey into a lot of personal and professional success in terms of wealth building and career growth. And as fast forward to today, now at 33, I run an 8-figure business in the real estate and research world and finance world. And now I've got a portfolio of circa $20 million in assets with my wife and I. We've got a family. We've got our dream home. So, touch wood, it's been a very special journey for the last 15 years here in Australia to be able to go from an 18-year-old kid on minimum wage to, someone running a couple of companies and doing okay.
And anytime you look back and, just say, wow, never predicted that. Does it happen?
Yeah, so a couple of parts here. I would be lying if I said, wow, didn't predict that would happen. I was always an extremely confident kid at 18 onwards. I can remember a vivid moment.
Even before?
Yeah. I think, look, maybe there was probably a cutoff, I'd say, maybe 17 onwards. Things started to change for me mentally, 16, 17 onwards. But I'd say there was always the thought that good things were going to happen. I can remember...
Manifestation, positive?
A little bit of that, or just like no knowledge. And so as a result of no knowledge, sometimes no knowledge, it's the best confidence booster you can have. If you don't know how difficult something is, if you don't know how, big a deal something is, you just easily say it and you think you're going to have it, but, you'll see. But I think I can remember a moment when I was like 19 and one of my leaders asked me, hey, Arjun, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And naive's the best word. I was naive. I just said, you're CEO of Commonwealth Bank. Sounds about right. And so, if you asked any 19-year-old or someone today, 24, to be like the CEO there, but I guess sharing that story, whilst they all had a laugh and I wasn't laughing, I was sitting there like serious. The thing to think about that story is there was just this self-belief, confidence, and a desire to go for something. Even if by all means it might not have been possible, those who start on the journey to try and make it happen, and even if they fall short, the distance gone in their time of trying and giving things a go, usually end up in a much better position. And so I feel like that was there, but the part that definitely wasn't something I was aware of was how fast all of this would happen. And so I'm amazed about how quickly it's all gone and how everything's happening.
What's the secret to the speed?
Secret to the speed?
Team, partnership?
Look, a few things. I feel like The secret to the speed, I would say, has been a couple of frameworks. The first framework has been building my best worst case. People don't see it from the outside, but I'm actually quite conscious of risk. And people would go, you're in millions of dollars of debt through assets, through growing your portfolio. You've got 80 staff members. You keep growing your company by 50 to 100% a year. You went into entrepreneurship in your late 20s or mid 20s. No way, Arjun, you're risk minded, but actually I am. And I've found frameworks that have really helped me get past the risk thinking or making paralysis analysis type of thinking, right? And that's been building your best worst case. So what I would do is I'd sit back and I'd go, okay, well, let's just say I give this thing a go. And if I'm going to give this thing a go, whether it's investing in the business, growing my team, growing leaders, growing the company, adding debt to build a portfolio, I would imagine as if the doomsday's on. Like I would imagine like everything's going to go wrong. COVID 2.0 hits, wars happen locally, industries shut down, AI comes and takes everything over, and like all the wildest things you could think of. And I imagine it. Not to sit there and be like, oh, this is negative thinking and like I'm never going to make a decision, but I imagine it to go, all of that happens. This is your worst case. How do you feel? Look at it and I go, beautiful wife, loving wife, 2 kids, family around me, never burnt, cheated, hurt anyone or anything like that. And then I got a couple of places, paid off here and there, bit of money in the bank. My health is getting better. And I think of these worst cases. I've traveled all around the world. I've done these things. I'm like, man, I'm cool with that. So as soon as I recognize that worst case is fine with me, I just go and act and just make a decision. So that's one part. The second framework that's helped me with speed has been going through multiple like near-death moments and also through losing family. Like when you lose people and you realize, like, everyone says life's short, but you don't know it until but you don't know it until you actually lost someone. And so when you realize that, you just go, hey, this could be over just like that.
Any second.
And it happened to me. I had open heart surgery last year as a 32-year-old, and something I was born with, not even something that I had because I'd eaten a few donuts extra or something like that. No, I was born with it. And so when you go through moments like that, you just go, hey, this could just pop off at any time. What do you want to be known for? What do you want life to look like if it happened tomorrow? Would you be happy with life if it happened tomorrow? And I look at it and I just go, yeah, like if something happened tomorrow, I look at the impact on my team, the impact on my family, the like things I've lived life with and the people I've helped along the way. I just say to myself, there wouldn't be anything that I feel like I haven't done. So when you have that weight off your shoulders to go, Hakuna Matata, if something happens tomorrow and I'm like, something happens to me, it's like cool. I lived a pretty good life, even if it was a short one. And so because of that, I just leave nothing on the table and I just go, let's just go make moves. And the final piece I would say on this whole decision making and what's brought the speed of this sort of growth has been that I don't attach success now to certain metrics or things, because when you've had those moments that I talked about prior, now success is just like, I want to live to my full potential and just see what it is. And so far, I haven't had years in a row, multiple years in a row, where I've hit a brick wall and I can't get past it. So to me, I can't imagine myself sitting here doing nothing. So I'm just going to keep going until the potential's reached. And I'd be happy in one of two scenarios. Either I lived of long age or short age and I just kept going and the potential kept going and I never reached it, time just cut me off. Or if I hit a brick wall and I tried with all my might for multiple years and years and years and years and I kept trying to break through and I couldn't, I'd happily crash, exhausted, wipe my head, sit down on that brick wall and go, hey, dude, you gave it a really good go. You've met your friend potential. This is where it ends. And a good life till this point, at least you figured it out. So I think these 3 things will be responsible not only for the speed to date, but the speed ahead and the impact I make ahead because of these 3 things. So building your worst case, realizing that life is truly short. And if something happened today, being content with it allows me to have that free-flowing decision-making. And then lastly, just absolutely gunning it to find my potential.
Right. So I think we came to the end of the program. And if I ask you one last question, what is that you think is going beyond borders, and what is Australian success to you?
I think with going beyond borders, it's like whether you come from another country like I did in New Zealand, although it's a bit of a cheat code, it's only 2.5 hours away.
But still, it is.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Starting all over.
Across the ditch is what we say, right?
Yeah.
If you're coming across the world, whether it's by yourself or with family, if you're, coming through to create a better future for yourself, like just take a moment to recognize that you already committing to that, jumping on a plane, being here, like that's such a leg up in your decision making, your commitment, your ability to drop everything that's comfortable. So you've already now got something in you that very few others will have. And you've already got something in you that can be deployed in so many difficult situations because you've proven resilience, you've proven uncomfortable move, you've proven lack of familiarity, you've proven new areas, part of the world that you need to go and learn. So you've proven new environment. You've proven all these things to yourself. So whenever you get time ahead and you're faced with another challenge in countries like Australia, whether that be family, housing, career, business, income, savings, whatever you have, my only thing to you would be just dig deep to know that you made that move here and you faced all those challenges and you broke through them because you're here. That's what matters. So when those challenges come up, just remember that. And I think already having that challenge and coming past it and being here, you're already successful, right? There's so many things that people don't recognize where when you bring up a minimum wage of Australia, it might feel like the start. But when you compare that to the globe and what percentage of the world earns that income, you're a 1%er, right? You're the top percenters in the world already. And people I just feel don't recognize that how special it is to even have a start here. And so I just think like those two things, your resilience and your facing of all those challenges that come with moving countries, you've already got something in you that proves that you can get stuff done or get shit done. And if you're ever faced with challenges, which you will be, right? No matter how successful, even today, 15 years on and the businesses and things, I have my challenges in my own world. So don't escape challenges. You can never run from them. But the final thing I'd say is just make sure you know that you've gone into that deep place before to achieve coming here. It's time to revisit what you did, the mindset you had then, and fight those challenges ahead in the same way.
Right. Thank you so much for, coming here, sharing such beautiful piece of advice that you did. I think you've shared a lot that we can take and learn.
Yeah.
That's it. That's where we end episode 2, and then stay tuned for the next one.